2022 is a year like no other. I think maybe during the 2 previous years, we've been pronouncing the phrase too often, as well as telling ourselves that life will never be the same again after 2020 or 2021. However, this year has shown us what real change can look like, how sudden, how momentous, how unpredictable it can be, and how completely it can transform people and institutions and countries, breaking down the relations and the daily practices that we've been thinking of or not been thinking of, have been taken for granted. In these circumstances, in this unprecedented environment, which is not really an environment at all, but something that has been overturned, to quote Tolstoy, and been just settling down, I think it is particularly brave and honorable for Pushkin House to continue to uphold its work and to preserve its public appearance. It would have been by far the easiest way to stop, or at least to postpone, the Pushkin House Prize activities, the judges' meetings, and giving out prizes for such a debatable topic, for such debatable subjects as the cultural and historical and political complexities and specifics of Russia. However, the Pushkin House, during its 10th anniversary year, has continued its work. The long list for this year's prize has been, I think, about 75, contained about 75 titles. And these titles, these books, have been of so much interest. The selection has been so difficult that the jury has been obliged to go over the customary 6 titles for the short list. And now the short list is not so short after all. It contains 10 titles. I think it shows both the dedication of the judges panel, and I would say of the Pushkin House community, to its subject, to the country and to the country's culture, both inside Russia and outside and beyond Russia. And it also shows the richness of the environment that we kind of select these titles from, how many people dedicate their efforts, their time, and their talents to studying this subject, the subject of broadly understood Russia. So I think I was surprised and honored to be invited to become part of this judges panel for the 10th anniversary of Pushkin House Prize. It contains so many outstanding people. It used to contain many more outstanding people who were themselves authors of seminal, important books on Russian and Russia-related subjects. This gave me an opportunity. I agreed almost instantly because I knew it would give me access to new books. So what could have been more tempting? So I agreed. And it was indeed an opportunity both to communicate with the people who are with the other judges, and to read the wide selections of books that became available to me as a judge. Some of these books were known to me, and I have read them before. They were authored by people who were my colleagues, my friends, and sometimes my co-authors. As a political scientist, I naturally have a predilection to political subjects, although I must say that the selection is not what I would call topical. The subject of the prize is the aim of the prize is to reward in-depth research, is to award, simply speaking, writing a book. And this is not a quick process. So while some of the titles, among them the titles that I have assisted to place into the short list, are political and therefore topical, they touch on the actual political developments in the country. Other are historical, cultural, ecological, and therefore they treat topics that are not of the age, but of all times, that are not for today, but rather for longer time spans. Some of the books, among them, I would name the one that's describes the vaccination process in Russia under Catherine II. They treat the Tsarist era, they describe the doings and the exploits of the Romanovs. And among those, I would particularly name, not among the Romanovs, but among the books, those that treat on subjects that I would call colonial. The life on the border, the marginal ways of life, those pieces of culture and those peoples and their practices that were not in the focus of mainstream analysis and mainstream history. This is, I think, particularly interesting. And this also relates to one of the books which is on the border between fiction and non-fiction, and this is Maria Stepanova's Memory of Memory, which I think is an extremely important book. I have read it in Russian at the moment, in the year when it appeared. It's sometimes hard to approach. In the beginning, it's rather hard to approach reading material, but once you manage to immerse yourself in it, it is an extremely rewarding book. It has been compared to Marcel Proust. I think the comparison is worthwhile. It also touches on the subjects which are shared by some, rather by many, I would say, of the books on the list. Mainstream and things that it misses. History as we are taught it, history as we are accustomed to understand and to view it, and those that it leaves out. The voices which are so quiet as to seem almost silent. The people who are left out of the main narrative. Again, this is not something very new. This is not something that was discovered only in 2022 or in 2019. But still, to see so many people of talent and integrity devote those talents and those resources that they possess to the study of the subjects which are manifestly out of the mainstream. It is so enriching. It so much adds to our understanding of the complexities of not just Russian culture or Russia, but of the culture in general. I would say that complexities and nuances would be if not the main theme of this year's prize, but then an underlying motive behind many of the books that I've been reading. Russia is not a simple country. In the year 2022, complexities seem to be out of date. The situation seems to call for simplicity, for black and whiteness, for people taking sides in as open and plain a manner as possible. But still, you cannot write a book that consists of slogans. You can. But this is not something that is awarded and recognized by Pushkin House. Our authors, the books we've had the privilege of reading, they treat complex subjects and they try to show them in all their, again, to repeat this word, complexity. For me, this has been one of the, I would say, lessons that I have managed to learn from studying those books that were subjected to me. I'm glad that the short list have been made longer. I don't know whether there was some contribution of mine that made this decision possible, but I think 2022 is above all the year when we go beyond the custom, when we change the way we were, when we do something we've never done before. So I think this is quite a good moment to go beyond the custom shortlist. All the titles that are there, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say that I have read them all. Let's be honest, not all. But I've tried to acquaint myself with their contents. So all the books on the short list and almost all the books on the long list are very worthwhile additions to very worthwhile pieces of puzzle in this very big and hard to understand, hard to grasp, and changing picture, which is Russia and Russian culture.